So I recently did a part one of the Blade Runner movie that I watched a while back, like in say last Saturday maybe. I'm not sure, but I did a review on it and I couldn't really describe it because it was a really convoluted story. It was like watching Inception times 10. It was like Inception on steroids. It was like okay, okay, but I feel that now I'm ready to kind of tell my opinion on tell the story of how it is because I did my research. I've watched like explanations and stories. So if I get this wrong, I'm sorry. I'm just basing my information off of others, and yeah. So Blade Runner 2049 takes place 30 years after the events of the first Blade Runner with Harrison Ford. And through that time period, there was these little plot points known as, like, one is known as the blackout that happened in 2032, which is 20 years before this movie, and the Nexus 8. It's not Nexus 8. It's Wallace. Man, it's hard to remember these. I think it's Nexus 8 or the Wallace replicants. I'm pretty sure. Man, I'm losing it. But so we basically see this movie take place after what has happened in the past. Because in the Blackout series, there's a little cartoon known as that explains what happened. Basically, an entire system shut down and causing mass panic. Basically, everything from I think California, no, yeah, San Diego to think Vegas will shut down completely, like blackout, like a power outage for 10 days, and people went insane because in this world, in this universe, they relied on technology to like sustain themselves. And then in throughout the cartoon, they show it's like people going insane, replicants dying, and people blamed replicants for this too. And this explains a lot after the events in this movie. And the movie starts off like really like far. Like it explains like in the beginning there's reading, so you'll be fine. So it explains how after the events of this so-called blackout, Wallace Corporation took over the Nexuses and made them more obedient. Basically, I can tell a replicant to go smack themselves or make me food, and they'll do it without hesitation. That's what the issue was with the Blade Runner, the first one, because the Tyrell, with the original corporation, made replicants, and they weren't as a they were given a more human aspect. Like they were given a thought, a human mind, an opinion, a heart, everything, and they were given like the natural lifespan of a human if they were born right. Like like the Wallace replicants versus the Tyrell replicants. Basically, the Wallace will respect and obey. Tyrell would be like, what, you know. So in this movie, we see Kay, or Joe, Ryan Gosling's character, who is a replicant, which is really really weird because he's a Blade Runner initially, and in the first scene with Dave Bautista, he dies. Spoiler alert. Oh crap! I forgot to mention spoilers. Sorry. But he dies. Basically, he kills the replicant Dave Bautista. And it was really weird. It's a really different visual perspective because it's like in the first one, Harrison Ford is a human, or so we think, and I'll get into that towards the end of the film or the end of the review. But Ryan Gosling is a replicant killing replicants, and it's like, how? Why? And he's one of the Tyrell corporations too. He's one of the original. That's why in this throughout this entire film we see him go, but what about having a soul, ma'am? And it's like, you're better without it. And it's like, what's that, ma'am? And it's like, did you say something? Like, no, I didn't. He has some like he has like responsive comebacks and quirky like lines and everything, but he's not as responsive. He's not as obedient as the Wallace Corporation, as we see throughout the film. And we see him go like drive through LA, which is beautifully designed. Whoever did the CGI design for this landscape was amazing. Cause like it's really dim and raining, but at the same time you can see the immense detail of everything. You see the towers, the buildings, and also the first scene of the movie, which is in California, and there's these solar panels everywhere, just straight flat solar panels, and they're this circular design, and it was really well done, and I was just like, and this movie throughout the entire movie is a visual perspective. That's what I want. Like I wanted to see what the visuals were like. So then we go to Kay, who has this weird holographic girlfriend, and back to my visual statement, she's a hologram, but she's artificial intelligence. See, this movie has a simple baseline, but it dives deeper so far down the rabbit hole that it becomes like this tree of imagination. And because this world, we didn't see much of technological advancements in the first Blade Runner. We just basically see him flying cars, holograph screens, big TVs, and that's it. All replicants and everything. In this movie, we see real artificial intelligence. Real artificial. She's a hologram for crying out loud. And she can respond to him like, "How was your day?" "My day was boring as always, but I'm better with you." It's like, what? And people say that replicants are artificial intelligence. That's kind of true. They are artificial intelligence, but at the same time, artificial intelligence is supposed to think rather than obey. See, this girl, I don't know why I think her name was Joy or something. I don't know. But this girl, she's able to think. She's able to feel a love compassion relationship for Kay, which, by the way, it doesn't work out. Spoilers, it doesn't kind of work out. It's just like kind of awkward in a way, but at the same time, it's like it's supposed to make a point. So then, like, we go see her, and then he gets this emanator, which is basically this big block in the ceiling is like a projector, and she's now able to go without that thing anywhere he goes. So throughout this film, it's just him and her, and it's really weird to see that he can't kiss her, but then there's this funny part where she just goes through his head, and it's like, whoa. And then so back to the story, sorry. And then Kay discovers his case that was hidden inside Dave Bautista's home, and it was the bones and remains of Rachel, who is the wife of Deckard. And they try to uncover as to how this happened, because replicants from the Tyrell age, they can decay, they can age, but why would they preserved? That was the big question at first. Then the bigger question came. There's a bunch of questions that pile onto each other, but so the next question was, how is this possible? Because they noticed that there was a scalpel incision on her side. Yeah, basically they saw a C-section surgery happening through the bones and remains of a dead replicant, and they were curious as to how this happened, because they saw that no um broken bones was ever like formed, but they did see the expansion of like some things in her bones. I don't remember what, and they're like, she was pregnant, and they're like, no, and they wanted throughout this entire movie they're trying to find this child. So then Kay is assigned to finding this child, but then next thing you know, he sees the tree, and it has this certain date that says 6/10/21, which is supposed to be one of his memories, 6/10/21, when he was a baby or a child replicant, basically. And then it involves this really weird, oddly shaped round wooden horse. That's why it was so important, because in the film he goes to San Diego, which looks really destroyed. I don't know why. And I'm pretty sure he was flying through downtown. And then he sees this weird dome shape, like, and he goes through this replicant sweatshop, basically. And then he's like, I want to see this date, 6/10/21. And then he's like, oh, we don't have that. And then, the typical, bah, break your nose. And he's like, I'll kill you. I will. So then he shows him that, but then the pages were gone, which is like, oh crap. So then we see him explore even more, and we see his memory kind of flash at the same time as we are seeing him explore. So then it turns out this wooden horse was real. This wooden horse was real. So it's like, you know, And he wanted to see if these memories were actually real. So then he went to another person, the scientist that makes memories, who is apparently in this weird glass dome. And it's like, my parents were saying I'm unimmune to the system or something. My body would break down instantly as soon as I breathe the toxic air of LA. And I was like, okay, I guess. So then we see her examine the memories, and it was like, these actually did happen. And he's like, oh man. So at that point, he's discovering that maybe he's the child of Deckard and Rachel. Maybe he's the replicant hybrid. So then he goes AWOL basically. He gets detained, but then he lies to the chief of detectivery, or the chief basically. He lies to her, and he goes and finds Harrison Ford basically, who apparently is in Vegas rather than, some people said Canada for some reason. Some people said he was in Canada. It's like, nah, fool. He was in Vegas this entire time. But we see him, we and as audience members, we believe that he is the true child of Deckard and Rachel. Throughout this entire movie, it is made to be believed that Ryan Gosling's character is the offspring, the hybrid of a human Deckard and Rachel. So then we see, Harrison Ford meet Ryan Gosling. They kind of fight a little bit, and then Ryan's like, "I want some answers. Who was she? Who was this girl and everything." So then they basically Wallace chick was like really weird. She's really strong at the same time, awkward. So then she kind of tracks Ryan Gosling's character down. Man, I'm hearing things in my room. So then she tracks down Ryan Gosling and everything, and then like captures Harrison Ford. I'm tripping. And then they basically kind of interrogate Harrison, like, where is he? And then here's the pinnacle part. After a group of replicants rescued Kay from being attacked or something, we discover that he isn't the child. It was just an implanted memory. So then basically, and then it turns out that this uprising of replicants is bigger than we thought. It was like a bunch of people, a massive majority of people from the Tyrell Nexus's origin, or uh, yeah, origin, got those memories. And it was like, what? So then he pieces it together, because in one scene he's trying to find the child, right? Then he sees two DNA that match, but one's a female, one's a male. The female was deceased and the male was still alive, and that's his DNA. But the female's DNA was supposedly the one that was the cover up. So then, you know, he Kay saves Harrison, and then he starts piecing together who the child is. It's the girl in the dome. So then it was like, it's like, whoa, that's why she was in the dome, so they can protect her. Harrison could protect the child. Man, I'm freaking out right now, man. I can't. My place is weird. Um, yeah, basically the daughter. It's the girl in the dome. So then, shoot, I lost my train of focus. Oh, okay. But then there are still some questions being raised about Deckard. Is he a human or is he a replicant? And I certainly don't want to know the answer. I want to know the answer too, but I just don't want to die finding the answers. Obviously, no, obviously, sadly, Ryan Gosling's character dies. But they do make a point saying you have to die for the right cause. So he's like, all right, I guess, you know. So then there's that, and yeah, this is my part two review of the Blade Runner, and I'm finally like releasing all this and like information, pointless information that I don't need. So yeah, for those who are Blade Runner fans, watch this film. It's still in theaters, I know that for sure because it's hitting box office records. For those who are fans of the original, watch this. For those who have never seen the original, watch the original. Watch the yeah, watch the original first, then this one. So yeah, that's my review on Blade Runner 2049, and thanks for watching. Bye bye.